We have been members of Vine City since 1950, because I'm the oldest and that's the year I was born. And first of all, let's define the boundaries of Vine City, because a lot of people have a misconception of what the boundaries were back in the time period that we were raised. Vine City was bounded on the south side with Hunter Street, which is now known as Martin Luther King Drive. It was bounded with Northside Drive on one side. We had Ashby Street on another side, and we had
Simpson Street.
Huh?
Simpson.
Yeah, Simpson was the other boundary, which was on the north side. That was considered the Vine City community. We had several elementary schools. We had E.A. Ware, we had Bethune, we had English Avenue. Our high school was Booker T. Washington High, that served the whole community. So you might have went to one of the different elementary schools, but collectively your high school was Washington High if you graduated. We did not have grocery stores per se, like the A&P or the Kroger's of that nature. We had several Jewish grocery stores that were located on the corner of Vine and Magnolia that we bought most of our produce and products from, at least those individuals that lived in the community. If you didn't have the outlet to go to West End, to go to a bigger grocery store that served the community. Our hospital that served our community needs was Grady Hospital. That was the closest hospital to our service needs. And we had several churches in the community. We had Friendship. We had Vine City Baptist. We had Beulah Baptist, I believe it was. And Cosmopolitan was there. So we had several churches that served the community. If you wanted to talk about social networking, the church was probably one of the most influential outlets for the family, the black family in Vine City. It was the religious side of it. I mean, you went every Sunday. We had activities. If you was in a child's choir or programs, that children programs they had, you found your connectivities through the church. There was many single parents, single moms who were raising kids during that day, and their kids were sent to church, and we all connected through the church. If we weren't at school connecting, we were in the church connecting. You have to understand also Vine City was surrounded with several projects, housing projects. We had Eager Homes, we had Hernium Homes, we had, what were some of the other ones?
Herndon Homes.
Eager Homes.
That's about it.
That's about it.
What about the one that was close to Spelman? That was up on Northside Drive?
Oh, that's, I don't know the name of it.
Yeah. We were
right up down the street.
Yeah, we were surrounded with projects. So there was not an era for social networking on the level of clubbing.
Oh God, wasn't no place.
There was no place to hang out. No. You have to understand, back in those days, there was not a social networking system like you have today of clubbing and stuff of that nature. Now, we did have the Magnolia Ballroom, but that was not something that young people participated in. They had his own clientele, so that was nothing that we participated in. Most of our growing up and activities were surrounded with school activities. We were close to the Morris Brown football field, where a lot of the high school games were held. So we got a chance to participate in type of environment. But as far as a nightclub environment or a social clubbing environment, it was not a presence in Vine City. You had those that was intellectually astute. They were kids that we had opportunities of going to the library or working at after-school projects or things of that nature. And then also you have to understand the family setting back in those days, in the 50s and the 60s. You were closely, if you had your mother and a father, you were probably raised with an environment that connected you with doing things within the household, cleaning up, participating with family activities. And the church had a very, very big presence as far as what family members did. So, like my father worked for the railroad. He worked for an organization called the REA, which was the first of before UPS and FedEx, if you know anything about REA. But it was part of the train system because the Union Station was right up on Northside Drive, so he was close to home. Most of the mothers were domestic workers. They worked either 1 or 2 days a week, maybe 4 or 5 days a week, if they were given that opportunity. So that's where most of your incomes were. We didn't have teachers, we didn't have lawyers, we didn't have doctors in our neighborhoods. It was a poor neighborhood. Most of the housing was dilapidated in some sense. Most of it needed repairs. So I remember for a long time in the early 50s, our plumbing was outside of the house. We did not have indoor plumbing. So just to let you know the housing situations. No, we did not know we were poor. No.
I think that because we were encouraged to go to school and to get our lesson and to engage in school activities, I think that we were almost programmed to be scholarly, meaning to go to school and get out. That was our job. Our dad always told us, your job is to go to school and get your lesson. And that's what he told us. So we didn't realize, I don't ever think it even crossed our minds that we were any different than anybody else in our school. We were no better, but we surely weren't worse. And
no, we had access to everything.
Yeah, we had things.
Even though we might have been poor financially,
but we didn't know it.
We didn't know it because we didn't feel it. We had clothing, we had food, we had all of these essentials for survival. So you did not understand what a poor and rich person was. My grandfather was a chauffeur for a white family, and he would bring things to the home like clothing and stuff that was given to him. I don't know if you remember a brand of clothing called Bobby Brooks. That was something that was sold in Rich's and Macy's or Davidson at the time, which was a high-end clothing line. We wore those, but they weren't bought by my mother and father. They were brought from the white family to us, and we wore them as hand-downs. But still, to get hand-downs as nice as those, we didn't understand what was poor or what was rich. There was no distinguishing of that in our family. Our mother and father didn't discuss that. They didn't discuss the economics of survival or whether or not they were having problems paying a bill or something. That wasn't discussed a lot. Our focus was education.
Let me piggyback off of what my two sisters just said. And your question was, did we realize that were we poor? Me and my brother played sports. I played football and he ran track. That was the activity for us to, as far as going to school. Now, my parents did make a way for us to get track shoes and football cleats. That's what we needed to play. So, but we didn't realize that we was poor, but then again, we had necessities of these things by our parents.
No, we didn't judge our neighborhood like that. We got an opportunity to do a lot as a family. We were able to travel to Noonan, Georgia, where our great-grandmother lived. We did that quite a bit. We traveled to Covington, where my grandfather's relatives lived. We had opportunities to get out. So it wasn't that everybody loves home. It's anything like home. Once I want to go home. So you go back home and you say, okay, I'm back home now. Sure, you love home. But the opportunities to get out to travel and see other things in the world, sure, we were fortunate to do that.
Yeah, but I think we was comfortable too in where we were.
Yeah.
We had opportunities, like she said. But when we had the opportunity to get out, we did.
Wow. And then another thing is, at school, when the school had field trips and that type of thing, like we would go to the Atlanta Symphony concerts, or if Spelman Glee Club is doing a concert, our teachers would select us and we would go to that concert. And if there were other events going on in the city that our school was associated with, and if we had done our chores and had done well in school, we got the opportunity to go. And for many years, and even before I finished high school, she was a domestic worker. And then finally, in 1967, 1968, my mother was a visionary. She thought of this program about helping maids and doing better for creating a better environment and working conditions for maids. And she created that program, and she worked at it, and she worked at it, and she worked at it, and she was successful. She was always in our schools. She was always engaged. Can you imagine having 5 children in school and you know where each person fits in the puzzle? She knew everything. She was at the school, she was engaged in our school activities, our church activities. She made sure that we had what we needed, along with our dad. Our dad was a major force in our lives too. So as a team, the two of them together, I think they both collaborated to make us who we are. I think they had a purpose in making sure that we had everything we need to be better people. Yeah. And nothing was wrong. We never thought that we were poor. We never thought that we were any less than anybody else. We never thought anything was wrong with the house. We enjoyed where we were.
When we was in elementary school, she worked with the school to ensure that we got everything we needed. If there was a question on grades, she wanted to make sure that while her kids got certain grades, was it something that they were missing? Was it something they needed to improve their grades if necessary? She worked closely with the principals of the schools. It was nothing when we were in high school for our mom to, before she'd go to work as a maid in Buckhead, she would show up at the school to talk to your homeroom teacher just to get a progress report on you, which was somewhat embarrassing for us as we grew up. But
and then she would show up at the school, and the principal would be in the hallway, and Mama would be in the hallway, and the principal would call us out into the hallway from the classroom, and our mother would be standing up there, and the teacher, and they would be quizzing us about what was going on, what was our challenge in class, why was our mother there? She was engaging in our education. Yeah. She wanted to know what we were doing, and she wanted the best for us.
Right.
I remember one class I was sitting in, and the teacher had me sitting in the back of the class. And my mother came up to the school and looked in the classroom and called the teacher out, and even with the principal in the hallway, and said, why is my daughter sitting in the back of the class? Why isn't she sitting in the front? You know, so if my mother didn't like something, she changed it. She made sure that we were able to get what we needed and in a position to get what we needed.
I had the opportunity to build a house anyway, but I wanted to come back to Vine City, my roots. It was something like a calling. Something kept bringing me back, telling me to come back home. And I did that. From what I see today in Vine City, from what I was when I was young, it has grown. The people have changed. The neighbors we used to have, either they deceased or moved away. But Vine City is still Vine City.